Hello guys, welcome back again to our Ionic tutorials making up with Ionic framework, guys. So we were using our favorite IDE WebStorm, and there are so many IDEs you can use. You can use WebStorm, you can use Visual Studio Code, you can use any of the IDEs that you want to use, but provided you can write your code and get your fake suite. So guys, we had created some three major components in Ionic framework. One was a service called global service, and a page, about page, and then also we have a home page. And then so basically today what I want to help you understand is first and foremost, put this in your head: mobile apps consume APIs, okay? An API has an endpoint. This is where data is being transferred to. So guys, let's say you have a WordPress app. Let me give a practical example. You have a WordPress website and you have an e-commerce on it. The WordPress website, the e-commerce, that is the WooCommerce, has some, you can open up some endpoints for WooCommerce, and then you can see all the data from that database. The same time, you can decide to create your own. You can decide to create your own. That is endpoints. That is what I mean by endpoints, is you can decide to create your own APIs. So let's dive into the code and explain it right from there. So the global service, this is a global service. Let's say this is just a name I've given, but let's say we want to create a login function to this mobile app. Remember, it is already serving. When I go to localhost 8000, when I go to localhost 8100, I get a home page. Remember, we had also created an about page. Let's say we want to create a login page, right? So let's just go about and do that. We are going to hit our terminal. Just type Ionic generate, Ionic G, and then it is going to give you a wizard. Do you want to generate a page? So basically we want to generate a page, but this is going to be a login page, okay? So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to give it a login page. So I want to create a login page whereby my users are going to log in into that page. So let's give it a second. It has already created that page, but now I've decided to use a global name so on the global service, so that it is easier for me to code my codes, basically to arrange those codes in my head completely in a very fashionable way. So I'll want to have on this global service, I've done something, so I'll need to create a login function. So the way to create a login function, first we're just going to write login class, okay? And that is how a login class will look like. But before that, we need to have a URL for that API. So let's say we are going to have a private login URL. Private login URL, which is going to be a string. So guys, I just want to explain this in a simple English way that you may understand. So this is going to be an example. This is going to be an endpoint of a URL, like http example.com slash login. But this thing, this is a URL, okay? So this is a URL. This is an endpoint, an API endpoint. And then so we are going to inject on this constructor a HTTP client. Okay, we're going to inject on HTTP client. Okay, so you're going to write private HTTP. Private HTTP, it has to be unstepped HTTP, and then HTTP client. This is from Angular. Okay, so that is a HTTP. We are injecting HTTP client, and then now I want to give a function for login inside the login function. Okay, so we are going to introduce a username string, username string, password, also string. So basically this is going to check so that the codes looks correctly. So with that, I'm going to introduce an observable any, and then so at this time we are now building up the construction or the function for that. So we're going to have a const body equals now we are going to use okay, sorry, not that one. We're going to use username and password. Okay, that is it. At the same time, return this dot http dot post so we are going to post that HTTP URL, this login URL, and then we are going also to pass in the body. Okay, the body, and then we are going to close it. So basically this is going to be a function for logging into that application. So this is on a global service. No, we want to pass this function into our login page. So what we are going to do, we are going to just go to home page, the login page. Inside the login page, we are going now to pass the global service. We are going now on the constructor. We are going to say private. So basically we want it to be private global service, global service. You can give it global private service, depending on the way you just want to ask it, and then private service, and then you're going to pick global. Now the global service, okay, from that global service.ts. Okay, so we have passed that information. So you can imagine inside the global service, all the functions that are inside the login will be displayed on the. Now we can access the function on this other side. The functions that are inside the global service, the login functions. Now the login function can be utilized inside the login page. So here you can say on init. You can either you want to use it like on init. Now you can now start like this. It can go this service. You can see like this service dot login. So it is basically, it has picked that function directly from the other side. But okay, that is just a by the way. So basically that is how you connect a global service to to now log in to a global service into a page. And also remember, before even we complete, now I told you we had on the project side we had the app component.ts. so you have to pass, now there is a HTTP client model, you have to pass it on the imports first, so that that page can look very nice. So we can now generate a login view. So let's go back to the login view. Now this is the login page. It doesn't have anything, but when we go back on this page, when we go to our browser, we already have a login page. Okay, login page. When I type here login page, we have that login page, but it does not have anything. Okay, just type it again, login page. Okay, it's not visible. Let me just inspect. You can look at it. Maybe it has an error somewhere, something that has not been okay. So we have a promise that has not been passed through, that no providers. Okay, so that is, and then the way to see errors on when you are developing an Ionic framework, you can use the developer tools. So basically we can see there is an error that has been projected. We are saying that the HTTP client, a null provider client. So how do we fix a HTTP client when there's no provider? So let's just go back onto the login.ts. Private service. So okay, it is there. So let me just 1 minute. So the way I like to do it, I just like to have the visuals ready so that the app will look okay. So first of all, we are going to have a login interface. Okay, so let's go to our browser. You can decide to do this. You can decide to have your browser on the side, at the same side, on the other side, right? So we have let's just split the screen. That is the goodness of Windows 11. So guys, I'm not paid to do that. So let's do this. On this login form, let's first create a form for login. So inside the Ionic content, this is the Ionic content, we are going to have a form. So we are going to create some items. Let's say first we are going to have a form, either an ng form. Okay, a form first. Let me just it is going to be an ng form by default form. Let's first just create that form, and then we're going to build on it. Okay, on that form let's add, so this is where also Ionic documentations comes handy. How to create some beautiful forms. You go to the components and then see how you can develop some good interfaces. So I'm just going to generate some forms. We're just going to generate some forms. Let's go back to our code editor, and then we're going to have item, ion item. Okay, and then that item, we're going to have ion label, and that label you are going to have username, so username, and then we're going just to duplicate that, the three of them, Control C, Control V, and then also we are going to have ion button, okay, and then the last one is going to be an ion button, okay. So this is just the way the form is going to look like in a nutshell. Ion button, ion button, type, submit, not mint, submit, and then you're going to give it and then you're going to give it a label there, login. So guys, login, so that is the first part of it, username, and then this is going to be a password. This is going to be a password, just to check and see how that app is going to look like. We had done that on this other side, you see. So basically you have the username, the password, username, I've written it wrongly, so I'm sorry for that. Username, because you can see when you write, and then you can just do those changes on live as it reloads. And then now we need to put an input, Ionic input, ion input, because that is going to be a type text, and then you're going to define the name is going to be username. I'm sorry, this is going to be a very long, but I'm going to try to make it short. So with the same thing, we need to password, input type, but this input type is going to be a password. Control Z, sorry. And then this one, input type, is going to be a password. Password, type, name, password. Okay. Password. Okay, and then so basically you can reload, control save. When you save, you reload, it reloads, and then you can see it is it has a username and password on there. It has already there, or the only thing just not being visible. Let's put let's put a placeholder. You can put a placeholder, that is username, yes, and then username, password, placeholder, key in your password. So basically I just done that to be visible. Remember, if you're still new to coding, just have to follow the step process. Follow the process here. You see, it is there. So that's the way you're going to create that form. And then now we are going to collect it, because right now it won't be that active, because remember, the app is not yet connected to an API. So I believe on the next coming video, let's generate our own username and password, or basically let's create our database whereby this app is going to hold this information. So basically the way we are doing this is a client app, and we have a client app, and then we have now the system app. This one can be stored, so we either going to decide, are we going to use Ionic framework, we're going to use Laravel for our database to create our APIs, or we are going to use .NET framework to create our backend for our database. So I think stay tuned on the next video so that you don't miss on anything. So this is, we have created our Ionic application from scratch, and let's meet on the next part of the video, whereby we ensure now that we have a login form that is workable for it can, a user can log in into the database. So basically information from the login form is transferred to a global service. Information is transferred through the global service into our API using the HTTP client modules, and then we are able to access all those functions of HTTP client module through the app.ts, where we have HTTP client module that provide HTTP clients to the app, and then it can collect information from the app, from the other side of the application through the URL links. Okay, what I mean here is, when on the global TS we have now this link from an API. So in our next video, let's connect this information from an API. At the same time, we can create on this global service, we can create like get all posts. Maybe it's a WordPress website or an API that contain post of information. So that one can be a function to get all posts. We are going to use that CRUD functions of create, update, delete. I don't want this course to be very long and boring, so let's break it down so that you can consume this information as it gets fresh, and it replenish your mind and understand how you are able to create your own applications. Cheers. Continue subscribing to our YouTube channel and hit that like button. Cheers.